Hello, Dave here. Welcome to Learn JavaScript with me. This is Chapter 9, JavaScript in the Browser, Exercise 5, Theme Chooser. And it's Chapter 9 out of the book, Modern JavaScript, Develop and Design, written by Larry Ullman. I picked it up off of Amazon. Don't know Larry, but learning JavaScript from his book. Hopefully we'll learn a little bit of JavaScript together. And for more information, you can head out to davecoast.com, contact me out there. But all of these examples are out. You can either go to the Learning JavaScript on the nav bar, or you can go to this js.davecoast.com link in this Learn JavaScript with Me global post. And this will take you to or you can go directly to js.davecoast.com. So returning to this post here, we have a link to js.davecoast.com, a link to larryullman.com if you want more information about the book, and here's all of my code from the exercises so far available for download. So let's jump right in, and I'm working through these exercises on my local XAMPP server. And in this exercise, so it's Chapter 9, and I'm calling it the Browser 5 Theme Chooser. And we combine event handling, default browser prevention, cookies, and DOM manipulation. And in this example, the visitor can select their theme. We store their choice in a cookie, and based on their choice, we update the page to use the style sheet associated with their choice. So we'll go ahead and start with the code and then dig in a little deeper with Firebug. But first, let's just see how it works. So right now, this is unthemed, or just the raw style sheet. Looks like many of the other exercises. And in fact, I'm going to bring it up here in another tab also. So now I have two tabs, completely unthemed. So if I go to tab, the first tab, and choose theme A, right? It's changed it to a green background, red lettering. And if I go to the other tab and choose theme B, it goes to salmon background with green lettering. Going back here, now I said it stores that in a cookie. So the last one I did was this one. It should have updated the cookie. So now if I let's go back here to the exercise choices, and I'm going to bring up this one again. Oh, look at that. It is red. The same as here, theme B. And basically, I'm just showing that it's been stored in a cookie, right? I can come back here, change it back to theme A, right? Now it updated the cookie. If I come out here and refresh the page, you see it's updated. That's what we're learning, the JavaScript code, to be able to present that. So let's first, but there's a lot of code here. I'm going to buzz through it quickly, and because I don't want a 2-hour episode here. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this code. Here's the JavaScript code, and working bottom up, we do window.onload and execute an anonymous function, and we set two different event listeners, and both event listeners execute the set theme cookie function, which is up here. Also, on window onload, we go ahead and create a variable that stores the value from doing the cookie, and this is our cookie library, and I'll show you that in a moment. That's this next file here. And it does a get cookie to see if there's a cookie, or it'll attempt to get the cookie named theme, and that's what we're calling, we're hard coding the cookie name throughout this example. So then if the value is there, right, it didn't come back as undefined, then we go ahead and set the theme to whatever it was previously set, or else it's at that default value. So from there, right, we go to this set theme cookie. Here's this function. Set theme cookie has the, since it's an event listener, it has the event argument, right? Or its argument is the event object. So we check that event object. If it's undefined, we will go ahead and set E equal to window.event. That's for Internet Explorer or before. And here's where we prevent the default behavior, because since we do have JavaScript enabled, we don't want those links to do their default behavior. And if JavaScript is not enabled, then it can go ahead and do a standard link processing. And otherwise, we go ahead and just set it to false. So this preventing our default behavior so that we don't do the links. Then we go ahead and create a variable called event target, and we set that either to the target, right? This is either the A theme or B theme IDs, right? The target that initiated the event, and it will either be e.target or e.sourceElement, depending on which browser is in use. Then we'll create another variable called expiration date, set it to a new date object, and set that expire date, set the date, use the set date method to the expire date with the get date method plus 7. So we basically putting that date 1 week in the future. And when messing with cookies, right, if the date is in the past, it's expired, and it only lives for a period of time till its expire date. So it's a temporary but persistent storage. Then we use this is our cookie library that we created, and that's here. We'll see that in a second. And we have a method in there, set cookie, and it gets 3 arguments. We give the cookie a theme, right? So this is creating a cookie. So we send it the theme name or the cookie name, and again, we're using theme here. The target.id, so that's going to be the value that it assigns to this name, and the expiration date. So there's our 3 arguments for the set cookie method, and then we go ahead and set the theme, and that's this function up here that we will review in a moment, because then all we do down here is return false. So coming up here to actually setting the theme, it gets 1 argument, and that's the theme. And depending on its value, right? So, and this is, for this case, it's just that A or B theme, right? So variable, we create a new variable, and I call it CSS work and set it to null. Then if theme in is equal to a theme ID, then I go ahead and set theme in to this value. So these are just literal values that I use for the CSS that I am going to insert. So this is our DOM manipulation, and we're inserting a style sheet here that has those specific colors. So based on the ID, right, the ID is either A theme ID or B theme ID. I'm going to go ahead and use the Chapter 9 A theme or Chapter 9 B theme values. Those are the names of the actual CSS files. And I'm going to go ahead and set that in the variable theme in. Then if document.getElementById CSS theme ID, so have we already set a theme on this page, then we set CSS work to the reference to that ID, and we go ahead and set the link, the href property to CSS / the theme in value that we just set up here and the .css. So that's what we do if it already exists. So it was already out there, and we go ahead and use it. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead. Here's our setup. So we set CSS work, and we create an element on the document called link. We set CSS work, the rel property, to style sheet, the CSS work href property to CSS theme in, and the .css. So there's the name of our file, and we go ahead and give it an ID, and it's CSS theme ID, so that we have that actual ID. There's the ID up there too. And we go ahead and append this as the last child in the head tag of the document. And that's our variable CSS work. So what this basically does is out here in the HTML, we see our style sheet here, right? There's my standard CSS, just styles.css. It's going to add another child at the bottom of the head tag, right? Here's our head tag, and here's our slash head. So it add it right in here. It's going to add another link style sheet for CSS and either ch9 theme.css or ch9b theme.9a or 9b.css. So there's our spiffy DOM manipulation. So there's our code. Yep, a little bit more complex than our previous examples, but pretty cool so far, right? Now we also created this little library, and I'll just go back to the HTML for a second, right? There's nothing fancy out here, but a couple of links, and down here at the bottom, right, there's our theme chooser that we just walked through, and here's this cookie lib, which has to be loaded prior to theme chooser because theme chooser is executing the methods from this cookie lib. So let's take a quick look at cookie lib. And this basically, right, creates an object cookie with the following methods: set cookie, get cookie, and delete cookie. So look at these for a little more detail, but basically set cookie accepts 3 arguments and goes through, and this is how a cookie is actually created. Then here's how we retrieve the cookie, and there's a little bit of complex for loop and actually slicing out the value part of this, right? We want to get the value part and return that from the cookie array because that contains the value. And we'll see that it's a little clearer when we actually look at it in Firebug. And then actually removing a cookie, or we call it delete cookie. And the way you remove a cookie is to just set its expiration date. See, the expires equal, and that's setting it to the epoch date, which is 1970. So any date prior to your current date means it's expired, and it will delete itself. So there's our cookie library. So far, pretty slick code. That's our JavaScript. Here's our HTML. And the important piece here, right, is our 2 links. And these don't really go anywhere right now. These are they're just called somepage.php and being passed a theme. And the idea here is if JavaScript wasn't there, you would need to handle this theme processing with some kind of PHP page server-side scripting. But that's beyond the scope of this specific example. Either way, here's those 2 links. We click on them, and here's where we're setting our listeners. And again, here's our CSS up here, and we're going to put another CSS after that so it overrides it. And we'll take a look at these 2 files next. And at the very bottom, here's our 2 JavaScript files that are included. And then here's 2 CSS files, and basically all we're doing is overriding this demo showcase class and using a background of light green with red letters or a background of salmon with green letters, just so we can tell the difference. There's the code. And coming back here, so that's how we got this, right? Here's our green with red letters. If I go to theme A, I guess that is theme A. If I go to theme B, there's our salmon with green letters. And we can go back and forth and continue setting that. But now, if we go ahead and bring up Firebug, we can take a look at some of the pieces behind the scenes. And one of the cool things in Firebug here is this cookies option. So that's one of the things. Check out your Firebug swarm, and you can come out here and actually work with cookies. right? This shows us the value. Right now it's set to B. You can even edit it here. And look at that. Here's our, right? Here's the values that it uses, right? Here's that B theme ID. And here's its name. It's called theme. And encoding and decoding. And that's why we did all this in the cookie example. So, well, let me go ahead. If I do delete that cookie, and I'm going to go ahead and let me just put this on the bottom for now, right? If I refresh this page, right, see how it goes back to the no cookie version, and it was set to B, but I can go ahead and set it to A. Oh, and see, it just put the cookie back out there, and it's A theme ID. So let me bring this guy back up here. Let's go to the console for a moment. And out here in the console, just wanted to show you using our cookie live, right? It's called cookie.setCookie, right? I can create a cookie. I'll just call it demo CO1 for demo cookie 01. And I need to put that. So that's the cookie name. And then I need to give it a value. I'll call it demo value 01. Doesn't really matter. And I need to give it a date. So I'm going to use a variable called expiration date. Let's go ahead and create that variable. And we'll set that equal to new date object. So let's create that date object. I click run. Just did things a little out of order there. So we created a date object. Let's go ahead and set that date. So I'm going to use that, and this is taken. I'm basically just writing the code that is in that cookie in the cookie library, or in the set theme piece of our JavaScript. So just doing it manually here, so we can see it. So I'm going to do exp date dot set date and exp date dot get date plus, and instead of doing the whole week out there, I could just do +1. Yeah, put it out till tomorrow. Doesn't really matter as long as it's not in the past. So I went ahead and gave that a date. Now I can go ahead and create our cookie. So I run that, and it created our cookie. Let's go out here to cookies, and we see here's the cookie, demo value 01, demo C01, and we can see in the DOM, right? I mean, this cookie guy is a little more handy dandy, but let's go through the DOM anyway, because messing around with this is how we learn it. So if I go into the document, and luckily they're in alphabetical orders, and go down here to cookie, here's a whole bunch of cookies, but here's my theme equal a theme ID, and demo CO1 equal demo value 01. And that's the format that it's in, and that's why we, when we want to extract just this a theme ID, we have to go through. We're going to get this whole value as part of the array, but we only want to extract after the equal sign. So there is manually using our cookie guy to create a cookie, and let's go ahead and delete that cookie, and I can do cookie.delete cookie, right? So this is again in our cookie lib, and by doing this delete cookie, give it its name, it's going to set the date to the epoch, which is back in 1970. So it will be demo C01. That's the name of the thing. So it will be, so it basically is expiring this cookie. I say run. It sets it to be expired. And if I go back here to cookie land, we see that I have theme, but we don't see that same guy anymore. And the same thing here. If I open up the cookie, we don't see that cookie. So there's our fun with cookies, playing around with it in the console a little bit. And come on out here, you can run through it in Debugger. I think we probably spent enough time on that. But again, if you brought up the script, let's buzz through this real quick anyway, just for grins. I'm going to go ahead, bring up my theme chooser. Let's go ahead and do our set theme cookie. Start at the first executable statement. And so we turned on debug. We set a breakpoint. Let's go ahead and select a theme. I'm going to choose theme A. We went ahead and stopped here. Is it undefined? So this E, whether it's undefined or not, it's going to go ahead and set that event object. Then we go ahead and do our prevent default behavior. And then we go ahead and create this event target variable. Go ahead and set our expiration date variable, create that variable, set the date out 7 days. And now we're going to go ahead and create our cookie with the theme and our event target ID, which is a theme ID. And now we jump into our cookie lib, right? So here's our set cookie. And again, just the best thing to do is to just walk through this in debugger like this. And I'm kind of buzzing through it, but step, right? It's encoding this value to make sure there's no server bad characters out there. And now it's setting up this string. And it's doing this. Here's the actual cookie command, right? Document.cookie. So this is how it actually creates it. And now that cookie exists, right? Now, so we return back from document set cookie. We set that cookie. We're going to set the theme, event target.id, set it to A. And we come back up here to our set theme. And here's where we put the CSS into the HTML. So let's pop down here. So it's, right, theme in is a theme ID. So we set it to the chapter 9 a theme CSS file. And we set up our CSS work. A theme was already set, so we're going through these 2 lines of code as opposed to these lines. And we go ahead and set the href property. And there's the end of that if statement. We go ahead and execute the return false, and we're done. I'm going to turn off my breakpoint. And if I come out here to the HTML and go to the head, notice here I have a link out here, right? Here's my standard link that we saw before, my styles.css, but here's the DOM manipulation. I inserted this link dynamically into the page, and here it is. The ID is CSS theme ID. It is a style sheet, and here's that actual CSS/ch9a theme.css. That is cookies, DOM manipulation, preventing the default browser behavior. And this wraps up our 5th and final exercise in chapter 9. And I think we're starting to learn some JavaScript. So hopefully we both know more than we did before. I'll go ahead and attach that to the bottom. Turn off JavaScript. Theme A, theme B, theme A, theme B. And there, and back to theme A, there. And one more time, just for the fun of it, right? I can go back here to chapter 9 exercises, bring up this guy, and my theme has been stored. The cookie exists, and that is theme chooser, Thank you very much for watching. This is Dave at davecoast.com. Let me know if you have questions, comments, concerns, anything. You can contact me, Dave at davecoast.com, or leave a comment at the bottom of the video. Thank you for watching.